Like Parallax here to entertain you with the help of the Weavers on top of Old Smoky. I was listening to that on a cassette I have of hits from 1951. When I was listening to it, the tune was familiar to me. On top of Old Smoky. And I thought, wait a minute. I remember this tune, but the words I remember are different. Something about a spaghetti dinner and a very active meatball with traits of a seedling. I'm shooting my first video in my new home. There's a grandfather clock behind one side of me in the background, and a chimney on the other side. My new home. All right, I can't do a video and not cover politics. So today, Elon Musk is now officially the owner of Twitter. You know, I found out something about him today. I was worried. I was a little worried because after all, he is a globalist, and that's basically his tough luck because the world is on the road to going back to nationalism. But he's from South Africa, and he could have, rose to power over there, but he didn't want to because he didn't like the fact that the white people in South Africa were suppressing blacks because systemic racism exists in South Africa. Doesn't exist in America, for the record. But anyways, that'll be enough of that. So I moved, and when you move, you kind of take inventory of all your stuff, and some stuff I forgot. I would have forgot about this because it fell behind something. But apparently, my grandfather, a immigrant, European immigrant, became a citizen in 1951. Apparently, he went to Mount Rushmore. I got that episode of Friends playing in my head. Count Rushmore. He went to Mount Rushmore, my grandfather, and bought 8 rocks from Mount Rushmore, and gave one for each grandchild, and gave one, to each grandchild, including myself, and there's mine. Better hang on to it. I mean, that would have been back in the 80s when he went. So this rock my grandfather purchased this rock from Mount Rushmore. But better hang on to it because the way the left is preaching, I guess they're going to be destroying it pretty soon. Anyways, so as I said, when you move, you kind of take inventory of the things you've accumulated in your life, and I have all 3 Back to the Future books in novel form, 1, 2, and 3. Of the 3, this one I've had part 3 since I was a child. I read it. I got it from the Readers Club, and I read it. And one of the things I liked about it, I recall, is that a novel can tell you what the character is thinking. For example, when Marty's running out of the saloon from Buford Tannen and his gang, he's thinking to himself, I really wish I had the hoverboard. You can't get that from the movie. I accumulated this one years later at a thrift shop, many years later. And then I never had the first one, but I purchased it online not too long ago. So anyways, when I first saw the movie Back to the Future, I saw part 2 first at the theater before even seeing 1. So in my mind, in my child mind, seeing this movie, I thought Doc was from the future, kind of like a Centauri character, because I had seen The Last Starfighter. And it reminded me of a memory of my father talking about how the DeLorean company went under, and my father's simple little mind said, "Yeah, it's because they're a threat to the salt industry." So, according to my father's little simple-minded universe, a stainless steel vehicle is free from sliding on the road. He would say, if they make cars out of stainless steel, then they don't have to salt the roads. Anywho. So anyways, it's late. I spent all day taking stuff apart, putting stuff together, taking stuff apart, and I gotta go to work in the morning. So, but I wanted to make a little video, in regards to Back to the Future Part 3, something I thought was interesting, I always thought was interesting, when Doc says in the third movie, when he's holding the picture of the photograph of the cemetery plot, the tombstone. He says, quote, "We know that this photograph represents what will happen if the events of today continue to run their course into tomorrow." Well, I always thought, well, how does he really know that for sure? I mean, maybe that cemetery plot would have just gone to the next customer. After all, I mean, remember the end of the movie? Your future is whatever you make it. Your future hasn't been written. No one's has. And I always had a theory in regards to time travel. I have a theory, like, if time travel were real and somebody were traveling through time, let's say they spent a week in the Roman era and then came home, and then they spent another week in the medieval time, and then they came home. If they're coming home to the same time that they left, they age that week. So wouldn't that person age prematurely over time? It's always been an interesting time-traveling theory of mine. I mean, if someone were to make time traveling habitual, it's just food for thought anyways. But because time travel is not, as far as I know, a factual thing, one is free to speculate that, perhaps when you travel through time, you burn a lot of calories, and that would compensate for a sedentary lifestyle, which is a valid argument depending on what era of history you're traveling to. Some eras are more complicated than others. You gotta bear with me, I'm still experimenting with the lighting in the new place. But anyways, my point is, Doc and Marty in Back to the Future 3 breathing a sigh of relief at the cemetery plot, vanishing in the photo. It's kind of a one-dimensional outlook. On the other hand, maybe it was the only way Bob and Bob knew to communicate the storyline to the audience. But if time is in fact money, then does that make an ATM a time machine? They do save time. Okay. Good night.